Joey, have you ever been in a Turkish prison?
Well, it's another day. Day 17 of the Take It Easy tour. And I've got to say a special shout out to Tim Piper, who let me stay at his campsite here. He has a yurt at this campsite, and it was cool. It's all locked up and everything. I didn't stay in there. I stayed right here in my tent here on this gravel. But it was great to stay here, and it was free. Thank you very much, Tim. I appreciate it. And it's a very interesting area here. This is a campground. And right across the way there, the EmbracingEclectic.com family. There is a family of 4 living permanently in a pop-up trailer. Let me repeat that. There's a family of 4 living permanently in a pop-up trailer. How the hell do you do that? I do not know. That is cray-cray to me. And of course they got a young kid or 2 and screaming and crying and all that stuff. But here's the vet bike, all ready to go, all packed up. So ready to hit it.
3 hours later.
Can you move it along? I'm all out of time cards.
Yo, yo, yo. Well, I just spent another eternity in a McDonald's uploading and such. And I wish I were more computer savvy, but I'm not. I just struggle with it at times. But that's the way it is. You know, you wanted to be consistent and upload and everything, and it's good to do. And I was scanning Facebook as well, and somebody was actually concerned about me. So I had not uploaded in a little while, and I was a little bit late on it. So somebody posted, "Hey, where is he? Have you heard anything from him?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm here. I'm all right." So it was good to hear that, you know, people were looking out for me. But last night I had a pretty good night. Again, I dreamed a crazy dream. This time, one of my friends, Jenny Cool, invited me and 2 other girls to do something, and what it turned out is she set up some swings, and these were like round circular things with the rope coming up through the middle, and we were kind of freaking out because, you know, what was it for? And we kind of deduced that she was trying to set us up, but as it turns out, she wasn't trying to set us up. She was just she had heard that we liked certain things, and she had devised these swings that conformed to what we liked. And so she was just trying to be nice and have, you know, not set us up, but just be nice. It was just weird. Another weird dream.
Holy nightmare.
So whatever, you know, just another crazy dream for me. And I'm getting to the point now where I'm kind of enjoying them, because I can tell you all about what they're like and everything. And who knows what I'll come up with next. What else is going on? Nothing else is going on right now. I really enjoyed Cape Cod. I wish it were warmer. Obviously, you can see now that the sun has come out. It's about 69 degrees. That's always a good number. And you know, so we're going to go to Plymouth here and see what's about in Plymouth. I got a buddy, Dominic Callis, in Boston, and I'll tell you more about him later on. And I'm going to meet up with him, but I'll tell you more about him later on. And so we're just going to go have a good time. All right, Donka Dave out.
A few moments later.
Okay, so we are here at the Pilgrim Plymouth Plantation. So let's go in and see how rough the Pilgrims really had it. We're inside a lodge that the Indians would have used if they were back in the time of the Pilgrims, and they just have ribs and it's covered with tree bark. They would have used elm or birch if they could have found it, but here they're just using poplar. And they got all kinds of skins here. I guess that's what they would have slept on way back when. They would have slept on skins to keep warm, and they got a couple of bear skins, and they got some raccoon skins and fox skins and things like that. And it's kind of funny, this Indian dude, he's a real Indian, and he's got this Cape Cod accent. It's pretty funny to hear, because you kind of imagine an American Indian as having a certain accent, but he's got the full Cape Cod thing going on with the ka and the dala and the quarter and all that kind of stuff. But he's authentic. He's a real deal right now, so it's kind of cool. All right, I'll talk to you later. The exterior of that hut that we were just in, and as you can see, it's just tree bark. Lots and lots of tree bark over a frame. And they would stay here every spring, summer, and fall. And in winter, they would go inland for whatever reason. I don't know exactly why. Probably because it was freezing their ass off out here. But this is an example of the village that the Indians, when the Pilgrims landed, would have been like. So they actually did garden. And obviously, you know, I don't know if you remember your history where they talked about how they taught the Pilgrims how to garden in this area. You know, they bury a fish and then put the seed on top of it so it'd have fertilizer. So that's kind of cool. Let's see what else we can get into. Well, this is an example of the settlement that they would have had at Plymouth way back when the Pilgrims landed, when they built all their stuff. They had a stockade like this, and then they had buildings. I'm sure they had probably worse buildings than that. That looks pretty good right there. But it looks like it's been put together with board and batten, and then they got real pegs going through the wood there. So well, there's a couple of nails right there. Nails would have been hard to find back then. So they would have used pegs drilled into the wood and then put a peg through. They would have drilled in there and put a peg through there, and it would hold. And I guess this is one of their meeting rooms or something like that. Looks like they might have had a church in here or something like that way back when. But yeah. And then here's the buildings down here that they would have stayed in. And then there's there's a Highlander Point right off the boat, right off there. That's cool. So we were just in this hut, and there is a reenactor in there. This dude is English, and he's got a full beard, and he's dressed to the hilt in the native costumes that they would have worn in like 1620, 1627 when they were there, and he is an absolute riot. I wish I could have filmed him some, but I don't think that would have been cool. But we're here looking at these huts and everything. I'm just going to keep on walking down and talking. I was really surprised to hear about the relationship that the Pilgrims had with the Indians. The Indians, they liked to have the Pilgrims here. They wanted to trade and learn from them about how to do stuff and how to get stuff. Like the English, they had brass pots, and the Indians, man, they wanted it because they couldn't make metal back then. They didn't know anything about smelting metal, so they wanted to have the stuff that the English had, and you know, it was beneficial for them. But you know, of course, there were more and more and more English that came in, and eventually it ran off the Indians, and they had to go somewhere else because the English were just taking over. And of course the English brought in diseases as well that just decimated the tribes, you know, with smallpox and flu and all that kind of stuff. The Indians didn't ever have that. And then when the English came, that changed. So then the Indians started getting sick. So just one of the little factoids about this area here. It's pretty interesting. All right, next. I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up, but this is an example of the inside of this this hut here. And you have a bed, and you have a fireplace, and you have a little rocker crib thing there, and a place there for a kid, high chair right there for the kid, and that's about it. You got a chest, you got firewood, you got a table and some chairs, and that's about it. There's a breastplate right here for them, another chest, another box or something like that. I can't see in there. You can't see in there, but this is an example of the conditions that they would have lived in. The floors are just dirt, tamped down, and that's it. And then you come into another room here, and it's about the same thing. There's a place there where they can sit and chat, and here's the enactor and everything. They got some of their furniture and stuff they would have brought over from England, and there's some pewter stuff, and there's a brass or copper pot right there, and then another fireplace to keep warm. And here's where they would have cooked right here, because there's your pots and pans and things like that. But that's about it. That's how they lived back then. It was rough. It was rough. And there's one of their buckets, you know. So pretty tough life. We got some reenactors here doing something. I don't know what. And everybody's kind of crowded around. They're gonna open up the main house or something like that. But straw huts, straw roofs, stuff like that. They get that from over there at the marsh, and that dude's doing something with his vine there. I guess that's a grapevine or something like that. And you got people just kind of milling around. Man, I just can't imagine how hard a life it was for those people back then. This was 1627 when they came over here, and they had to build everything. Basically, in about 3 months' time, they had to build everything so they would have a place to live during the winter time. It was cold, harsh, yuck, 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 yuck. All right, let's see what they're gonna do. Well, here's a statue of a dude named Massasoit. I guess that's where they get Massachusetts from. But Massasoit apparently was a protector of the Pilgrims. Some of the Indian tribes didn't like the Pilgrims being around, but Massasoit, he kind of helped him out because they traded with him, and that was good for him. So he said as long as he was chief, they were going to be protected. So I guess that's what happened. And we're here at the Plymouth, Massachusetts, obviously, because we're where the Pilgrims were, and there is this wonderful park over here, and I think right over there is Plymouth Rock, and then there's another statue over here we're going to go check out and see who that is. William Bradford, governor and historian of the Plymouth colony, born in Austerland, England in 1590 and died in Plymouth 1657. He lived a pretty long time for a guy that day and time. Most people died a lot younger than that. He lived a healthy life, I guess. But man, it's tough to think about our history being that far back. That's just a few years after 1492. I mean, that's about 200 years when Columbus discovered America, allegedly. So yeah, a lot of history here. This is one of the oldest towns in the U.S., Plymouth. You know, 1627 is when they landed, so, or 1622, 1627, I can't remember. But a lot of history here. All right, next. All right, guys, here's the big moment. The Rock. This is Plymouth Rock. It's a rock. How about that?
Holy showcase!
And you see there's some concrete fill in it right there. The lady over here says it used to be about 3 times this size, but people were taken chips of it off for souvenirs, so it's been reduced in size by about 1/3 or 2/3. And last year or thereabout, there was some water got into a crack and it froze, and when water freezes, of course, it expands, so it broke the rock into about 1/3 again, and they had to repair it, so they've got concrete in there. But this is the rock where the Pilgrims landed, right here in what, 1620 or something like that. I forget what the date was. Somebody's going to correct me on that. But and then there's the bay out there. That's where they came from. And they didn't land here first. They went to Cape Cod, and they just discovered that they couldn't really do anything at Cape Cod, so they decided to continue on, and so they landed here. But I'll give you a little factoid later on about the Pilgrims that's kind of cool, and it'll be in the next couple of segments. While we are coming into Boston, let me give you his thoughts on a couple of things about the Pilgrims. They were brave people. I mean, they were persecuted in England, and they had to flee to the Netherlands, and they lived there for like 12 years before they were able to catch a boat to get to the New World, and the hope that they had in that. And but what if the Indians said, hell no, we're not going to help you? What if the Indians said, whenever the white man showed up, they just wiped them out, they attacked them? What would the United States be like now? Would there be a United States if the Indians had done that? I mean, it'd have been a brutal war. They'd had to bring a whole bunch of people over here to take over. But that's not what happened. But I just kind of wonder about what would have happened if the Indians had been really hostile. Instead, we just kind of charmed them and kind of took advantage of them because they were interested in our trinkets and our technology and all that stuff. And I guess that's happened from time to time in many, many cultures. But that's an interesting thought. What if? What if the Indians were hostile? And another thing that happened today, this morning, and I didn't make note of it, was I left my cell phone on the charger on the bike, and when I got up and got ready to go, it would not crank. So I had to push the bike up a hill. I didn't know people could do that. If I'd known they could do that, I'd have done that a long time ago. I had to push the bike uphill about 100 yards and then have it drift down and then start it up, bump starting it again. So that's another concern that I have, is with the battery, and if the battery is going to really hold up or not. So that's probably going to do it for now, as far as this day and everything. We saw Plymouth Rock, we saw, you know, where they kind of settled and everything, or an example of how they settled and everything. And that was interesting. To most motorcycle people, that's boring, but to a history geek and a science geek and all that stuff, to me, like me, that's kind of cool.
Loser.
So that's it. We'll sign off for now. Doc and Dave out.
Hasta la vista, baby.